Okay, so this topic is interesting. We all have a tendency to be like, okay, we don't know if this player is going to carry on over into 2024, into next season. But we also have a tendency, I think, to expect someone to do something one year because they did it the previous year. Examples would be, I mean, even if we look at a Devin Singletary right now or Jerome Ford right now, these are great players to talk about. And those aren't even the ones at the top of mind, really. Those are examples, I think, that you can fathom. Hey, Ford's great right now. Freaking win a league call for us in week 17 here on the Fantasy Football Show. But is he going to translate into 2024? Chubb's coming back. There's a lot of those conversations we need to have. But let's have the top level ones. Christian McCaffrey is number one on top of mind. Number two on top of mind, Kyren Williams. Is Kyren Williams going to be every bit as good as he is right now in 2024 and in 2025, 2026? We're going to talk about that. And I'm going to do this on the inverse. Like, will JJ deliver next year? Will Cooper Kupp deliver next year? Will Travis Kelce deliver on his ADP? Because his ADP is going to be a lot lower next year. We'll do the inverse version of this video, but for right now, we're talking about Christian McCaffrey now versus 2024. We're talking about Kyren Williams now versus 2024. Debo Samuel now versus 2024. And the list could go on and on. Let's throw one more player into the mix. Let's talk about Puka Nacua now versus 2024. This is just version one. A lot of other names are going to come up. This might be a series we bring up on the regular. If you want a player brought up on the now versus next year series that we just cooked up right now, drop it in the comments. The Fantasy Football Show begins right now. Christian McCaffrey is a curious case because this man has had mileage upon mileage. And I know everybody's natural instinct will be to say, he's going to do it. He's Christian McCaffrey. He's different. And for the most part, I agree with you. And what it comes down to is this. At least for me, I look at it like this with Christian McCaffrey. I think that in week one, here's week 17, and this is 2024 CMC. In week one, 10 out of 10, 0 out of 10 in terms of being the best of the best in what he does. I think he's going to start off on fire. Do I think there's a chance that he somehow starts to degrade as he goes through the season? Yeah. And there's a strong chance that he goes all the way through. Maybe he has some sort of injury piece where we're worried about this section, right? Maybe this is a 2 to 4 game section of time where he's out of play because he's older, the mileage is racked up. Nobody should come in here pretending like there's not a risk of CMC getting hurt. I think for the most part, he has shaken free that injury label that he had walking into 2 straight seasons. 2 years ago, we thought maybe he'd never stay healthy ever again because the mileage was crazy. But I think everybody, even if you believe in him or really, really believe in him, you need to package in a 2 to 4 game window of time where he will be missing and raptured from the NFL. And when I look at it from that perspective, even if he goes like up and down, I do believe he's going to give us the full year. It's just that gap of time. But what makes me believe that Christian McCaffrey is absolutely 100% worth the 1.1 or 1 overall value in terms of trade, etc., is because you're going to plug in a player during this segment right here, whether it's 2 to 4 games, call it this year's Ty Chandler, but next year's version of it. You're going to have 10 to 12 points per game times, we'll call it 3 games, to plug into this spot right here. And at the end of the day, you still have by far and away, if you add this section of Christian McCaffrey to this section of Christian McCaffrey's points, to the 2 to 4 game amount of points you get from this player right here, whether it's the 2024 version of Ty Chandler, and you have by far and away the number 1 overall player, the number 1 running back in fantasy football. It's not like you're asked to start no player during the gap of games where Christian McCaffrey is not playing. So for me, my determination is this. It's riskier to not draft McCaffrey 1, 2, 3 overall than it is to draft him. There is some risk that he could get injured. There is some risk that the fall off will happen. 28 years of age is the year of decline for RBs. It's just the way it is. Derrick Henry's the outlier. Alvin Kamara did it at 28. He's currently at the end of that season. He was suspended at the beginning of the year. It kind of gave him a little bit of, I think, wiggle room to squeak out some more production. Eckler played at 28 in 2023, and he didn't make it. Eckler has kind of run out of gas. There's no gas left in the tank, really. Maybe a little bit. We'll see where his ADP is. Depending on where his ADP is, we might believe in him a little bit, but not at his old value. He's gone. He's as good as done. Camaro, we got at around 6, 7, 8, 9, depending on what platform you drafted on Underdog Fantasy. Promo code Smitty. Hit that promo code. The link is in the description. They'll double your first deposit up to $100. But on Underdog, we crushed it with Alvin Kamara all offseason. In 2023 on Underdog, he went in the freaking 6 to 9 range on in most drafts. And then he went in like round 5 or 6, sometimes even 6 to 10 on Underdog, but 5, 6, 7 on in redraft formats or whatever. But we cleaned up. Now, if Eckler falls a top 5 potential running back like Kamara was to our community, to me, to you, then we might steal Eckler away if he was to fall into a crazy round like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we take a gamble. It's still a gamble, but we take a chance on him. But Eckler, he's as good as done as a top, 25 overall pick, and no one's gonna, anybody drafts him there next year, they're gonna be extremely disappointed. I don't care where he ends up. But CMC's different because he's playing at an elite level right now, and so is Eckler, walking out of his 27 age season and going into the 28-year-old season. And so Eckler comes in at 28, coming off an amazing 2022 season at the age of 27. And now we're going to have CMC, and he craps the bed at 28. CMC's coming in at 28. That's why we need to at least understand that we thought Eckler looked fantastic, right? Just like McCaffrey looked fantastic coming out of the 27 age season. There's risk. I do believe, like I said, the risk is greater. The risk is far greater to doubt CMC, especially given the concept that I just mapped out a second ago, where if he plays weeks 1 through 6, and then in weeks 7, 8, and 9, he's missing, and then in week freaking 10 through 17, he shows up again. Let me move myself out of the way here. So weeks 1, he plays. He's a top, 1 to 5 overall player. Weeks 10 through 7, top 1 to 6 overall player. And then here he's out. Week 7, 8, 9. You're plugging somebody in. At the end of the day, you're covered. You're not forced to start 0 players in this time frame. I just think if we're gonna give it a little bit of a vote here, if we're gonna say, what are we thinking? What are we thinking right here? What side are we taking? Christian McCaffrey or no Christian McCaffrey at first round value? We're gonna go McCaffrey season. We're good. Puka Nacua is a curious case too, but this guy has shown no signs of being a pumpkin, being a 1-year wonder. The only concern you'd have is what's the offense look like next year? Is Stafford going to return? Is he going to be good enough? Is he going to be suffering injuries and hampered all year? Is McVay, what's the system going to look like? Because without Stafford and McVay, Puka certainly can't be the Puka we know right now. And Cooper Kupp probably is a little diminished next year comparatively to this year. It's just the nature of being 30 years old as a wide receiver. He will be 31. Ziggy, how old is Cooper Kupp? I think he's 30 right now.
Cooper Kupp is 30 years old.
30. Ziggy off. Ziggy off. So he'll be 30 years old in June. 31 years old in June. So at 31, he's going to drop off quite a bit. Puka's there to, even if, let's say, the offense dimmed down a little, if Kupp dims down a little in production, then Puka Nacua should have enough volume. But I think, I feel very similar about Puka as I do CMC. It's great. The risk is greater to doubt him than to roll with him at the cost of entry. And the cost of entry is going to be high. I imagine it's going to be top 15 overall. But Puka is a volume king, and I think he's more than deserving of that. So when we say Puka Nacua or no Puka, we're going to say let's roll with Puka. I feel like it all translates over. This is not one of those 1 year, okay, and we're out situations, okay. Kyren Williams. Kyren is very similar to Puka in that the offense is very vital to his production. The offense is feeding him production that really no other team is feeding the player. And Puka and Kyren, they're both going crazy this year. Look at Kyren's numbers. Kyren is an absolute machine. Absolute machine. And I venture to say that if I'm drafting right now, right this very second, I want Kyren in my top 5 overall for 2024 fantasy football yearly league redraft leagues. I want him top 5 overall. Now, Dynasty, he's in my top 6 or 7. He's 23, I believe. Ziggy, how old is Kyren Williams? I think he's 23. Ziggy, how old is Kyren Williams?
Kyren Williams is 23 years old.
Thank you.
And was born on August
Ziggy,
26, 2000.
Off. 23. He's got so much time. Dynasty-wise, top 5 or 6 to me. There's some concern about, again, what does this offense look like 2 or 3 years from now? But what game are we going to play? Are we going to continue to, look 10 layers deep into a situation and predict Stafford's not there, predict McVay doesn't have a plan, predict that they won't still run the ball well? There's a lot of things that could happen and unfold, but right now the offense looks good. Puka's there, McVay's there. Stafford, we don't know if I don't think he's walking away after this season. So I don't know. I kind of feel like this is one of those scenarios where there's certainly risk, but I don't know that the risk any way, shape, or form comes close to the upside. So the scale to me of risk reward is still slammed down on Kyren's side, even at 5 overall value for 2024. So this is the same thing. Now versus 2024, are we going to run the risk? No, we're not. We're going in the direction of things continuing on. And my decision is to roll with the momentum into 2024. Nothing's going to change in my mind. I love this man, Kyren Williams. In fact, have you heard the Kyren Williams song by chance? Here it is.
He's Kyren, he's 7 feet tall, and he knows how to handle a ball. He's Kyren, he can take frowns and turn them upside down with his touchdowns.
Those are 3 players that I believe we needed to talk about in terms of translating to 2024 versus the now. Is the expectation level going to change? I say no, it is not. I say we take what we see now, we translate it into 2024, and we ride it out. Oh, we said we were going to do Debo. Real quickly, let me just say that Debo to me is, in a short-term dynasty perspective, going to translate over because Purdy's young. There's some questions about Purdy right now walking into Week 17. I think coming out of Week 17, the Washington game, which has not transpired yet, will boost his value back up a little bit. But the playoffs could very much indicate that Purdy's the man, or he could potentially be figured out a little bit. Like there's a lot of ambiguity walking into Week 17. If you're watching this later and there's clarity on it, and Purdy wins the MVP, because there's a lot of people talking about that pre-Week 16, we'll take it from there. Like, understand that at this moment in time, walking into Week 17, there was the MVP talk. Now there's people doubting him like crazy. He's walking into a Washington Commander game of Week 17, and then we got the playoffs. But I still believe that this system has a 2-year window that includes this year that makes Debo Samuel very, very valuable to the tune of a top 5 to 10 wide receiver. And so for me, I'm more of a now guy in Dynasty than a 3 years down the road. Like everybody playing 4, 5, 3.5 to 5 years down the road is playing for second place in my mind. I think you should focus on about 2 years and about 2.5 years at the most. Meaning that Debo, even if he was going to retire after 3 more years of play, would not have much of a different value in my mind because of the way I build for Dynasty. Everybody's different. And I think that what I see now at a Debo, he should be able to continue to do and deliver on for 2 to 3 more years. So in that context, I'm going to say Debo Samuel, you, my friend, also are a player we're going to lean upon in terms of translating from 2024 to the now. So no player here. McCaffrey, there were some conversations we need to have. We needed to have like a little bit of that talk, that tough love talk. But like McCaffrey, everybody passed the test of, hey, these are all guys that are playing amazingly now, and we do see it translating into 2024. But the McCaffrey one, we need to have bigger conversations about, because there could be a time where we say in the offseason, you know, let's say he breaks down in the playoffs or something. None of this has happened. We're walking into week 17. So if he kills it throughout the entirety of the playoffs, we'll walk out going, no problem at all. Like, understand the difference of that. And if he gets injured in the middle of the playoffs, we'll have a very different feel. We're fickle people. We're human beings. So we may or may not have to have a different conversation. And that different conversation might be that, okay, he's going to blow up in weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we trade him by week 10. You know, if you believe, and that's in Dynasty or redraft, kind of depends on how he finishes. If he wins the NFL MVP, and let's say Christian McCaffrey and the Niners win the Super Bowl, and McCaffrey looks fire the entirety of the playoffs, and he looks totally healthy, then no one's going to have any questions, and nor should they. The next video will be the inverse of this. What players in the now didn't deliver, but in 2024 we believe in. Bijan will kick it off. Now get out of here.